Welcome to Creators Blueprint.
Welcome back to the Creators Blueprint, where we talk about necessary stuff and design. I'm Dennis, joined by the best,
My name is Oscar.
Rob,
I'm Rob, aka Foul Matter.
and we're here to discuss design. I don't know what about design. We're just gonna go with the flow. But today's topics, I don't know. Well, what's up with you guys? How's life?
Life. How's your life? Go ahead, talk. You're gonna go. Start it. How are you doing? You look stressed, Rob.
All right, a little backstory. Rob just drank a whole bottle of Hennessy. Not a whole bottle, but like
Quarter.
Yeah, a
good
quarter, a quarter bottle of
no.
Hennessy.
Well, I think in general, I'm pretty busy at my job right now. Got a lot of projects going on, and so that's happening. Meanwhile, I'm doing my photography stuff and also here recording with Creators Blueprint. So I have multiple kind of endeavors going on, and
But you came in today saying I'm stressed.
I am very stressed.
Why are you stressed?
We got
what's going on in work?
deadlines to meet. We got comments to revise from clients. We have other companies to coordinate with to produce the final set of construction documents. So, I think I'm probably, if I didn't mention this in the first episode, I'll just briefly mention I work as a architectural designer.
We had a full episode on you.
I just want to recap.
God.
I work at an architecture and engineering firm, so that's what we do. That's what I do. So we got a lot of projects going on right now. I'm working on a couple of roof replacements, waterproofing, things like that. Very detail oriented, and
So that's what's stressing you out, work.
yeah, because for example, I'll spend 4 hours working on revisions, and then I'll send it out to the client. Okay, fine. It's in their court, right?
Yeah.
And then, the next day they'll respond with their comments and what they want to be revised. So I will have to take that, and I'll have to process that, and I'll have to go ahead and make those corrections. So, obviously it's a kind of a back and forth. So you kind of just always have to have plan ahead and assume that there are gonna be corrections that you have to make when you send out your version and when they give you the version that they have seen, and you have to kind of process that.
All right, it sounds interesting. Oscar. Oscar, how's your life going?
Anyways,
How's your life going?
So it's not as stressful as Rob, like not to the point to where I have to like
I would
drink
say
a
that.
quarter of Hennessy just to
Damn
get through the
right.
podcast.
Definitely.
No, my life is going pretty good up to this point. Just transitioning into a new job.
How's that
And,
been for you?
So far, it's been great. Just for the fact that I'm here in Jersey working now, and I'm not commuting over to New York. That's a big plus. And now I'm kind of going into designing older people's footwear, like adults basically. And before I was only designing for kids, and I needed a change. So that's going great career-wise. In life, I'm doing great. Last week I went. Was it last week? When was St. Patty's Day? St. Patty's.
Last week.
Last
Yeah,
week.
I think
Last
so.
week.
All right, so I went to watch the Boston Celtics play. I saw my boy Kyrie. Something light. I had a funny story actually about that real quick. It's not as boring as Rob's. We got tickets.
Oh, that fade towards Rob.
We got tickets to. Me and my girlfriend went out to Boston to watch, Boston Celtics play against Atlanta Hawks, and we bought section I think 300 tickets, and that's in the nosebleeds, where you need you need some, what's it called?
300 millimeter
You need
camera
binoculars.
lens to see the game.
You need an $800 lens to actually look at the guy
Freaking
sweat.
Zoom in on the game.
And so it was nice and all, but I actually shout out to my boy. He
My
actually,
brother?
yeah.
What?
Yo, what
He
the
hit me.
fuck?
I thought I was doing well, but he hit me with the, you might as well watch the game from home.
Sheesh.
Wow.
That's tough.
You know what I said? I said, bet. So I looked around, bro, and I looked straight down, courtside, 8 rows up, empty seats. You know what we did next. So
Damn.
what I did was me and my girlfriend, I was like, okay, so this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go down to that section. I noted how many rows down I have to walk and how many columns to the right I had to go to where there was the empty spots, because I saw 5 empty spots there for the whole first quarter. So we go down to the first section. I'm like, okay, we're gonna buy beer and we're gonna buy food and we're just gonna walk in, count the amount of rows down, sit in that section, and that's what we did. So I enjoyed the whole second half of the game.
So the message kind of made you find your balls a little bit, huh?
I wouldn't say that, but it just made me siege the opportunity and the moment, because
He was helping you push boundaries.
Yeah, I'm not always in Boston, And then I was thinking to myself, if I did get caught,
What's gonna happen? You're gonna go to jail.
They're gonna kick. I hope not.
I think the worst, you just get ejected. That's
it.
it.
Get ejected, and I was like, you know what? We enjoyed the first half. Let's go try this. We tried it. We succeeded, and we enjoyed the second half. Where the
Might as well watch it from home.
where the players basically are standing. Just let's count 7 rows up, and we were there, and they were $800 tickets. But you gotta seize the opportunity. If anybody told us to move, we would have moved. But it was just great. Overall, super cool experience. That's how my life is going. Super cool. And how about you? Any interesting stuff, or is it you're terrible like Rob?
No, it's not nothing terrible.
What'd you do?
Rob.
Anything crazy you did recently?
I went to Vegas.
Oh, he went to Vegas.
I went to Las Vegas.
Yeah, Rob,
I got
bad.
Just
Is
for
your
the
leg that
record,
bad?
I have a trip planned to Puerto Rico for the first week of July.
No one asked.
All right, we'll wait for that.
No one knows, but yes, that is
You gotta
happening.
pull out the trip from 4
So
months
in
later.
3 months, when we record our whatever number episode, I'll talk about that. But for now, how was your trip to Vegas?
It was wild. It was wild, crazy, bro. We met Sway Lee, French Montana. All right, so we did bar crawls in Vegas.
Okay.
So it costs $40 to $80 depending by the company, and they take you to 2 bars and 2 clubs. You start off in a bar, you go to the next bar, and then from there they take you into a party bus and you go. They take you around the city, the long way to go across the street to a club, and then from there go to another club through the party bus.
Essentially, what a bar crawl's supposed to be, but here in Hoboken, you get robbed and you
And
just
then you
get.
just wait 2 hours
You wait
for
2 hours on other
SantaCon.
people, yeah.
Why you throwing specific names out?
Because I actually bought bar crawl in Hoboken, and
And
let's
it was
just say it
terrible.
wasn't.
And
up to
based on
par.
your
So-
experience, it wasn't worth it.
No,
Definitely not
No,
worth
because we got there around 10 in the morning.
This is Hoboken.
In Hoboken.
Yeah.
10 in the
And-
morning.
For SantaCon.
For SantaCon.
Yeah.
And we started.
SantaCon.
We got into a bar easily. We started drinking all that, and we're like, let's
Damn,
go.
this is nice.
Let's go get some McDonald's.
Yeah, that
Because
was.
we were
And you know
hungry.
who said that?
Who said that?
That man.
Oh, no name dropping.
Nah, man.
No name drop.
Anywho, we got to
We can censor it.
we went to McDonald's. We got breakfast and all that, and by 11 we wanted to head back to the bar. But once we were heading back, we saw all the clubs had huge ass lines, like huge. Like it looked like Six Flags over there, like an hour to 2 hour wait. Like lines were wrapping around the corner and shit. So we went back to the bar we were in prior, and there was a 2 hour line wait. And we were trying to finesse the bouncer to let us in because we were in there, and he was like a young kid and he was drunk. And we were like, "Yo, we were just here." And he was like, "Yeah."
The bouncer was drunk?
Yeah.
It was a
What the
mess,
fuck?
man. The bouncer literally
What the fuck? How the
okay,
fuck
so
is the bouncer drunk?
so the
He's not
re-
supposed to be drunk.
so the regular line for people without a pass was just as long as the one with a pass.
Yeah, and we had
First
the pass.
off. Second
And-
off, that bouncer was getting off of his door, and literally going to the regular line and saying, if you want, I could sell you a pass.
And he was giving
selling
them
passes.
to free
What
for
the
like the women and all that shit.
That's
For
trying to
women, it was free.
finesse.
Yeah.
So like everybody was, it didn't even matter if you bought the pass. You were just everybody was just all in one line,
Yeah.
and it was like a 2-hour wait. So we were trying to finesse the bouncer. It's like, hey yo, like we just been here. It's like, no, you gotta wait. At the end, we did manage to get to like a second line that was on the other side of the door. Apparently for the people that came in already, but we still waited like 30 minutes. We finally got in there like around like 3 in the afternoon. We waited from like
At
12,
least 2 hours.
12 to 3, like 2-3 hours.
Yeah.
We got in there, and yeah, I'm never again gonna do a bar crawl in Hoboken.
At least you go to Hoboken, but just don't buy the extra bar crawl.
It's not. It is not worth going to Hoboken for bar crawl SantaCon.
Yeah, it's a waste of money.
And if you do, you have to go super early.
Long story short, it's nothing like Las Vegas and their
Oh,
bar
okay.
crawl.
Long
Now,
story
back-
short,
back-
unless you're a dedicated alcoholic,
Like Rob.
it's not worth it.
All right, so back to Las Vegas. So we're doing this bar crawl, and we were leaving the bar/casino to go to the party bus to take us to the club. So it was me, my brother, his girlfriend, and one of our boys. We were walking out, and my brother like comes to me. He was like, "Is that Sway Lee?" And we looked in the corner of like a Starbucks, but it was like empty Starbucks right in the exit of the casino.
So he was trying to be low key.
He was very low key, and I was like, I looked back and I was like, that is Sway Lee, and we were like already walking out. We're already outside, and then he goes like, let's go back. We went back, and my dumb ass, instead of recording the whole thing, was trying to get a picture because my goal was to like vlog the whole trip.
Yeah.
So like I was just like off adrenaline. I want a picture. I want a selfie. And then we're like, Sway Lee. It was Sway Lee, and he was like, all love. And we were like running up to him. The security guard was trying to push us back, but my boy, he managed to get a picture with Sway Lee. It was the nicest like picture. It was great. And I didn't manage to get anything. My brother didn't get anything, so we just walked out. But overall, like it was a random experience. Yep.
How was like the actual night besides Sway Lee?
The actual night. All right. So that was the first night in Vegas.
That was the first time you met.
That was the first night in Vegas. So by the time we got to the second club, I was just drained out from the airplane ride. Like I was just tearing. My eyes were tearing. I was yawning. I just wanted to go back home. But like I was sauced. And the party bus, they were just giving alcohol on top of alcohol. They were having like Bacardi fruit punch shots on top of what else? They had something else, like 2 drinks going on at once, and they were just giving you like two shots every single time you got into the bus. You got into the bus like 3 times. So that was like 6 shots right there. I really recommend going to the party buses.
Did you pace yourself?
No.
Do you pace yourself?
No.
The second night, I fist pounded French Montana.
So you're just meeting celebrities.
That's
out there.
pretty awesome, actually. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Like we were,
It's pretty dope.
like I was trying to record the whole thing, but my camera was in the pocket,
Fuck.
and I was walking out, and I looked up, and French Montana was just chilling in one of like the stands. I just put my fist up, and he fist pounded, and I was like, oh shit.
That's dope.
And then I was
That's
like, I
pretty
need to record this for the vlog. I turned on my camera, and I went back. It was like, and I was like, could you do a shout out on my vlog? And he did a shout out, and I looked at the camera and wasn't recording.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
God damn it.
So yeah, that's a foul.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to compile everything that I recorded into like 3 minutes and put
3 minutes. Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
Put a Queen song over it.
Maybe 4
Don't
minutes?
Stop me now. Not 3 minutes.
Sheesh.
I'm trying to do it fast paced like David Dobrik.
Yeah.
Hey, yo.
Hey yo.
True.
So yeah, overall the pool parties in Vegas, amazing. Really recommend it. There's you go to like Wet or Encore and
Encore is a big resort.
yeah, there's like it actually look like a spring break, like women everywhere. You're gonna be like, whoa.
Yeah.
Really
This is
solid.
Creators Blueprint After Dark.
Yeah, we should.
For sure.
Yeah, I need
But
to get back.
I want to do an apologies to the last
Almost done.
episode. that I said we had great quality, but we didn't have great quality because we had the mics and equipment, but we didn't know how to use it, and there was problems with the
Yeah.
settings. And we
Yeah.
finally got it down.
Yeah.
Hopefully, this
Yeah.
will go smooth
We're
with the video and the audio. And
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have since looked into kind of what we should be doing, and we made the necessary adjustments. So I think that this is going to be a much better quality, delivery your way. So we thank you for sticking around. Obviously, we're still kind of early in our
Yeah, like we're very early in our like I guess
whole kind of
whole-
direction or
direction with everything.
So there's some growing pains that are inevitably gonna come, but
We're just
it is what it is, right? And we're learning as we go along, and the end goal is to deliver you the highest quality content, and that's what we're about. So that's what we're trying to do, and that's what we are doing. So
Yeah.
So yeah, this podcast is not only about design. As I said earlier, it's about necessary stuff. So we just showed
we just
or
rambled
told
on.
random stuff, random
Uh-huh.
stories, and we're gonna get into we will get into design stories, our backgrounds, our origins, and stuff like that. We would love to have creators come up here and talk to us about their not only their origins, but with like their favorite hobbies or interesting
Basically,
stories.
what goes into the creative process behind their art. I mean, whether it be photography or industrial design or anything in general, what goes behind that process, what drives them to do the specific things that they do, and
But
that's
we
what we're
also
interested in.
want to meet the person themselves. Like
Yeah, the person themselves.
I wanna hear-
We
I
want to
wanna-
know
we wanna-
what they're about, not just from a designer standpoint, but also from a human standpoint. Like,
Yeah.
what
we wanna
makes them
hear
tick.
we want to hear interesting stories. That's the end of the day.
At the end
like
of the day,
like the
yeah.
Vegas story I just told. It's embarrassing. Embarrassing as hell. Anywho,
I don't know.
So today we
Yeah,
want to
just
talk
go.
about Oscar Lima, aka Oscar Lima Design,
Uh-huh.
and Dennis, aka Design by Dennis.
Uh-huh.
And so what's interesting about these two is that they graduated together in industrial design, right? So they have I would say the same background, but there's been a little bit of variation in the directions that they have taken. I think Oscar is highly specialized in what he wants to do is footwear design, whereas Dennis is more of kind of like a general practitioner, a kind of jack of all trades.
Industrial
And
designer.
he has knowledge of all things
general
industrial
industrial
design,
designer.
whereas Oscar's more like a highly specified. He has highly specified knowledge of a specific group. So I think let's talk about like the
Mon-
difference between you guys, but also like obviously the
differences.
similarities. But
Okay, that's cool.
let's see where we go from here.
So like in similarities aspects, we both, I'm sure, we start with sketches or even like the thought process. It's
Wait,
probably
may
similar.
I interject for a second?
I just started talking.
Okay, so
Jesus, you just finished your question.
okay, so you guys both graduated
Amazing.
with industrial design
Yeah.
as
backgrounds.
your field of study.
Yes,
So
sir.
obviously you guys were exposed to virtually the same kind of academic settings, right?
Same.
exactly the same.
Exactly
Right.
the same, yeah.
So I think what's interesting is how your paths may diverge a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I mean-
Industrial design is such a broad major
Yeah.
where you could just specialize into a certain product or category. So, for example, my boy Oscar, he graduated as an industrial designer and he specialized in footwear.
Mhm.
I stood at the general basis of industrial design where I like to get projects from like random clients, and it could be a random project ranging from a toy to a consumer product, an item, a toaster, depending but what it is, honestly. And yeah, depending by the person, the individual,
Like what they want to design. Yeah.
you could go from there. Like you could see what the person wants.
I feel like, many industrial designers when they graduate, it's all based on how you orientate your portfolio. You know, if you have more footwear projects on there, you're not really gonna land that industrial design job. Which you can, but you're definitely gonna need some type of ID related project in there for you to land an ID job. If you're really focused in footwear, you do footwear. You know, your portfolio would be mostly footwear and then some ID, but it should be a majority footwear. If you go into toy design, you should have some toy design in there. If you go into furniture, same thing.
Yeah, it depends by individual.
Yeah, now for like the only tricky thing that I've heard is for automotive design, you really need to go to like
An automotive school.
Yeah, an automotive school. You can't really go to an industrial design school and then like from there try to land an automotive job. That's just not how it works apparently.
Okay, so I have a comment about that.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
Why?
So
Not why, but like why you're not why you're asking. Just go. Forget it.
So, I think what's interesting is that you bring up how, okay, so for example, like with automotives, I think a lot of people would initially think it's very, I feel like there's certain people that will think, oh, it's very engineering heavy, but then there's other people that will think, oh, it's very design heavy. I would say, you know, the two don't have to be mutually exclusive. There could be engineering that goes on in the design process, especially for an automotive. Like you have to have, in my opinion, industrial designers collaborating with engineers in order to kind of, you know, bring about the vision, right? So
that goes more in hand with like actual design that like needs engineering to it. Like I don't know.
Like for me, like
right.
we like every project I get, I design the outer shell and all that, and then we bring it to like somebody to engineer the inside, put in the ribs, put in the circuit boards, or where the placements of all the components and all that.
Right,
So,
right.
Most of the
right.
time though, designers have like they have like a kind of a window of what they should have like for the specifications, right?
Yeah.
Most of the time, so like
I think
you have a room to like design around that.
I think that's an interesting point because you know, in my experience, you know, I'm talking from an architectural perspective, but I work alongside engineers, so when we approach our projects, you know, we're kind of exploring the architectural aspects of it, but we're utilizing our engineering department as a kind of consultancy. Like, okay, what can we do and what can't we do? So I think it's good to have kind of like multiple directions involved in a project, because that way you'll be able to kind of gauge what is just possible.
What's realistic?
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's how it works with us too.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we had a school trip to a consultancy, sophomore year of college, and they had the engineers in house, and yeah, they basically advised the designer what you could do and what you can't do. For me, at my job right now, you design the product and you send it over to the client, and since the client is in charge with the engineering, all that, they're like the middleman between the designer and the engineer. If you're hearing kind of like crunches in the microphone, we're eating snacks as we're doing a podcast. We're eating popcorn.
Yeah, we shouldn't. But
We shouldn't, but we apologize. We're hungry. It's already 10. But yeah, so let's start with our origins. We both graduated from MSU Montclair State.
Yeah.
We had the exact same classes for like all 4 years, except here and there, like some English classes.
Yeah, I wasn't really like close friends with Dennis our first year.
Yeah, we had beef.
We didn't have beef,
No,
but
we didn't talk to each other.
You know, I came into the program and our class was not that big, right? It was
It was like 12, 15.
12,
No,
fi-
12.
maybe
12 people.
let's just say 12, right? And yeah, I didn't like I came into the
That
class.
was a very small class.
Yeah, it's a very small class. I came into the class and you know, tried to like, you know, pay attention and all that, and you know, by that time I blink and like, you know, my boy Dennis here already has a crew of 3 people or 4, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
And you
We were
know,
squad deep at
he
that
already
point.
had a squad, you know, so that's how that was.
Oscar was the outsider.
The free agent that was picked up.
I was a free agent, you know, like I didn't pay no mind. I just did whatever I need to do, and that's it. And then the second year came around. That's kind of when we like started getting closer.
I'm like, this kid has every class with me. Might as well just chill with him.
Sheesh, and now we're here. Yeah.
And 5 years later, we're still chilling.
Yeah. Yeah. So we went to industrial design program. Do we say it? Did we
Yeah,
say it? Yeah, in Montclair.
I already said it.
You did?
Yeah,
I'm sorry. So yeah, we went there, and it's a fairly like, it's not a new program, but they're still trying to get their foot in their foot correct as to like how they should go with, you know, their curriculum and stuff like that. But when we went there, we were able to design a various amount of stuff. We did shampoo bottles, we did watches with
with a certain company.
a certain company we can't name.
And then we did a box for another certain company.
We did a jobber showcase design.
You know, we should just go off and just blank out the school name. Let's talk about the problems that the program had.
Yeah, I mean, people could find that information, but we can do that if you want.
All right,
Doesn't matter.
all right, let's talk about the cons in that school, right?
Say the cons with our origin of where we came from. Just briefly, both of us, I would say that we both wanted to do architecture. You said, right?
Mhm.
This was prior to going to college, and for me at least,
You did?
yeah.
You're crunching right into the
Bro,
mic.
don't crunch into the mic, man.
You did too? You wanted to do art?
Yeah, I wanted to do architecture, but I had a class with a certain person that's in jail right now. I could tell that story.
No, don't tell a story. Let's keep it home. So yeah, for me at least, I mean, architecture is just such a big scope, you know, from what initially I heard is that there was a lot of physics and a lot of like mathematics to it, trying to learn the constraints, the values of that.
The thing that turned me off is like my teacher had like so many laws set up, like what you could do and what you can't do, and then what really turned me off is the type of rules and the names. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna remember this. Yeah. And then one day this guy, industrial designer that works at a bike company, he came in and started talking about industrial design in general, which is creating random products. And I'm like, whoa, this is like architecture on a much smaller scale. So I just stuck to it since sophomore year, and I graduated and went directly to industrial design in Montclair State.
Yeah, for me, like the only problem is like I said, I wanted to do architecture, but then I saw industrial design, fell in love with it, and saw how I could be, you know, like a designer for like the next iPhone, the designer for the next, you know, Dr. Dre beats and stuff like that, and I was like very fascinated by that. It was.
Yes, Rob?
Can I just say something? I think it's interesting that you bring up the fact that I think there is a difference in kind of scope between, for example, like industrial design is, I think, a much smaller scope compared to architecture. You guys are interested in the fundamental level, like, you know, level as a scale of furniture or individual products that, you know, people will interact with. Whereas, like, for example, architecture is more concerned with, like, large-scale, like, buildings that people also interact with, but kind of in a different way, you know? You exist within a building, but you interact with a product, right? So I think that's kind of interesting that you guys are bringing that up. I think we operate at different scales, but at the same time, there are similarities between our fields. So
I think they're very parallel because it's that exact same thing.
It's
right.
It's just bigger scale. That's what I believe. The only thing that I do see that I feel like is kind of a con with architecture, maybe you could agree with me, is that when you do work on like a project, your projects are going on for years. True or false?
The bigger
It's like-
projects, yeah,
so, like,
definitely,
you won't
yeah,
see-
absolutely.
like,
I have
potentially-
project managers in my office, which will remain unnamed, that they've been working on a certain project for I think since 2015, and we're in 2019 right now. So
probably even
that
longer.
that just
Yeah.
goes to show you that there's a lot of back and forth, especially when you're dealing with multiple parties, such as like New York Department of Buildings or
No, but exactly,
the
but-
Department of Design and Construction. Like there are multiple parties that you kind of have to like kind of go between back and forth, and it's just like a process. It's just a process that suddenly, whoa, we're 3 years into this project, like.
And like, what if like, whoa, like they're not gonna let us finish the building? Like, what happens then?
Well, I mean, we go on It depends
No,
on the
because-
way that the budget is set up for the project. I mean,
Yeah.
if okay, so for example, if you have a fixed amount of time to produce whatever it is that is needed of you, for example, drawings or details, that's one thing. But if you are not to exceed a certain number, and obviously, if things are going on for 40 plus years, there's a reason. I mean, obviously, you're not late with the design. It's more
just how
like
long it takes.
bureaucracy.
Yeah,
like
just
it's
how long it
just
takes, yeah.
going between different parties, different groups, different organizations, and they understand that. So we account for that in the budget.
I feel like that's just like a little gripe with me, even though I'm in like a field where literally if I design for footwear, if you design today, you're probably designing for spring 2020,
Right,
Which
you're
is
always
like a year
ahead,
from
yeah.
now, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Now for you, it's like years, right?
It depends on
Like,
the
if you
scale
start
of the
designing
project,
right
on the
now.
scope of the project, but yeah, there are cases where we're designing in terms of several years ahead, right? The master plan is several years ahead, and it might even, depending on the scope of the project or the ambition of the project, it might be several decades ahead.
Exactly. So the problem for me, at least, is that like it'll take long for you to see the finished product, your baby.
Right, yeah,
You know.
yeah.
And like for me, that was like a long wait. I mean, at the end, if it's like the Freedom Tower, it's like yeah, right.
That's crazy. I didn't even think of that till now, cause like I realized this in college that I like fast paced projects. So like one thing finishes, I go to another random thing. It's like a clean slate and it keeps on going and going and going.
Yeah, but it's not
So
that fast.
it's not like that in architecture at all. So I'm glad I
Oh.
didn't use
Oh my God.
architecture.
I mean, yeah, like for
Thanks,
example,
Robert.
Through like
there,
5 years for your
like-
project to end and see your finished product.
5
the-
years to get accepted, like years to get accepted, right? To even begin.
the typical workflow. For example, like I will address the comments that were made by our client, right? And I will send them a revised version. A few days later, they will respond with their comments that they want us to either add in or take out some stuff or revise. So it's a back and forth,
Popcorn everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
this guy,
not-
that's a mess.
This is fucking. I felt it like a shade in my mouth, like fucking that way.
And yeah,
Let me swallow this popcorn for that.
go ahead. So that
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, like yeah, I'm glad I didn't do architecture because like I like to see my products like finished and clean slate. Like
how about
every
for you
other-
though? Like let's say you design today, when do you see it coming out?
I see it coming out within like 5 months.
Like finished product?
Finished product in stores and Walmart and everything.
5 months. That's a
Yeah.
very like
They're
quick.
very fast paced.
yeah,
that client.
it's like the thing with like designing footwear is like you're hitting a trend. Trends come quick and leave quick, just as fast. Balenciaga shoes, thick dad shoes, outsoles. That came, everyone. I'm talking Nike, Adidas, New Balance, name dropping every brand, but you're gonna notice that they all are trying to follow that thick outsole trend, Kanye came out with a Yeezy that has multiple layers of suedes on top of each other, laying on top of each other. You're gonna see that come out, but they're just a little late to the game, and they'll come out like if they're that good with their manufacturing, they'll come out in the next 6 months. But if they're not, it usually just takes time. Like it would typically it takes a year from when you start your design to when it's in stores.
All right, let's back up a little bit.
Wait, may I just quick comment. So okay, so there seems to be a difference between, like, for example, the lifespan of a trend in industrial design versus architecture. I think architecture can kind of go several years where you're kind of trying to, achieve an end goal. But for it seems like with industrial design, particularly, for example, like you just mentioned with shoewear design, you're kind of going off on seasonal trends, which vary like on a monthly or annual basis. So you guys kind of have like a tighter window to work with, or
It's
like,
usually-
for example, what might be trending right now might not be trending 12 months from now. So or a
Okay,
year
so this is
from
what you
I
have to.
agree with
This
that.
what you have to think about. All right, so when the Yeezy came out, is the Yeezy still out? Coming out in different colors? Yes, right? So when it first came out, what did you see? Like, you saw the Yeezy come out with, like, it flared out. If you look from the top view, it flares out the outsole, right? That became something that designers picked up on.
I've
and added
noticed
to
that a lot,
They
yeah.
added that to their outsoles.
Yeah.
Like, that one came out, and then it's still coming out in other colors. It's still the same thing, just in different colors. So that trend is not dead. It's still here. Also, like, you know how the Yeezy Boost came out, and it's basically a knit upper, one piece knit upper. Everyone's doing it, and
Yeah,
it's
the
still
knit
here.
upper is
When
really
did
popular.
when did the initial Adidas Boost come out? The first one. Now they have a V2 version out, and it's still the same thing. What is it? A knit upper that kind of like molds around your foot, and it's still what? Still here. It's a trend, and people are still just adding up to it, adding onto it. Some trends don't die that quick.
No,
'Cause it
but
takes
like
a while to get on it.
compared to architecture, it's like a trend will like last 2 years. Hey, what he was saying is,
I don't even know
it's
about
gonna
that.
I
it's
think
gonna
architecture
last-
is definitely it's a lot
It's like
slower
decade-
compared
like a
to, like, for
decade.
example, footwear design. I mean, architecture, yeah, architectural styles or movements can take decades to evolve, but footwear is, I think, much more dynamic
It
and
takes
definitely
like 2 years, 2
yeah,
years, 3
much
years, and it just goes quick.
Yeah, much more volatile. Take that as you will, but for example, something that you design now, it might
it's-
bang for a couple months or
But
a
it's
year,
not gonna be
but
the same in like
yeah,
3 years,
exactly.
4 years.
So
It's gonna go down. in price and
I
shit.
mean, I think that comes with the territory of footwear design. Obviously, for architecture, that would be problematic because no one would be able to ever get anything done because buildings take several years to construct. By the time that it fucking gets finally completed, it's out of style. So I think architecture operates on a different timeline compared to I think smaller scale industrial design and particularly footwear design.
One thing like about architecture though, we're like really going off on tangents, but they're very conceptual, like most buildings nowadays, right? They're not like just a straight square, like that's too like.
Yeah, well, what's that
super
little
high,
that little section by the Javits Center where they're building like skyscrapers?
Oh, and it's like building building blocks on top of building blocks, like a stair, right?
That
That you're talking about?
like that little section right there, like they're
Okay,
constructing.
so what you're talking about, the section by 34th Street, the west side, is Hudson Yards, and there's been several high-rise buildings going up in the past few years, right? And I want to emphasize few years, so that kind of gives you an idea of the kind of sense of relevancy in architecture. Like,
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is like those buildings are very conceptual. I love it.
well, so okay, so I mean, well, okay, so you love them. In my opinion, they're your
Well,
kind
here
of.
we go. Here we go.
I mean, they're your standard office buildings that tie in neatly into the High Line that was extended up to 34th Street over the past few years, and then there's also. I'm not gonna say that there's nothing good about the site. No, there's plenty of good things. For example, the High Line got extended up to 34th Street to coincide with that Hudson Yards project. I think that's great. I love that shit. Like, coinciding with the green space, extending that green space. I love that shit. And then there was the shed that's being designed by Diller, Scafidio, and Renfro architects. That shed is an extendable. It's a movable shed that kind of extends outward to kind of become a kind of outdoor/indoor space for the arts. I think that's very interesting. So there's a lot of interesting the things going on in that space. But as for the high rises, they're your standard kind of glass curtain wall skyscrapers. I don't, in my opinion, there's nothing too there's nothing too much that stands out about the skyscrapers, but I think there's more interesting things going on closer to the street level, in my opinion.
You think so?
Yes, definitely. I mean, that's not to say that the skyscrapers are bad or not. No, they're fine. But that's my point. They're fine. Like, they're not game changing or anything. They're not fucking trend setting or anything. They're fine. That's it.
Like, everything when you guys design has a reason. True,
Yes.
Right. Like
Can I just say something? When you look at the clients that they're designing for, I mean, they're large corporate entities. It makes sense that they're just kind of like standard high-rise, glass curtain wall buildings.
the
because
square one, right?
I'm
Those are
talking about
square?
all of them, like all the high-rises. They're all. I mean, they all follow kind of the standard, in my opinion, template. Glass curtain walls, steel or concrete frame high-rise buildings. That is your kind of typical corporate high-rise office skyscraper. I'm not saying that's necessarily bad or good. It
But it's
is what
just
it
basic.
is. I'm just saying that it is something that has been done time and time again. So if you want to talk about trends in architecture, I mean, trends take decades to develop and evolve. I mean, I think that so in my opinion, I think architecture is a much more you're not gonna see skyscrapers go out of style in the in a few years. That just doesn't happen. I think footwear is much more dynamic in that sense that trends can be evolutionary within just periods of time ranging from a few months to a couple years. Like things change in footwear, but architecture, buildings,
But
they take a little bit more
I feel like
time.
once a building is outdated, it seemed more like historic. But when the shoe is outdated, everybody just forgets about it and just like.
That's an
nobody wears
interesting
it.
point. I think, and I guess maybe that's because shoes are something that people,
It
the
depends.
general people, tend to
Yeah, it
interact
depends
more
because
with.
there are some shoes that are like considered classics and the
OGs.
price
Right,
and the prices
right.
just rise
Would
up.
you wear them though?
No, I'll collect them.
You would collect them, but you wouldn't wear them.
Yeah.
So I think that's an interesting point. Like, what's the difference between, for example, collecting a classic shoe versus wearing one? You wouldn't wear a classic shoe, but you would collect it. So you understand its fundamental value and relevancy as kind of like a relic of the past that maybe went on to influence like a current design, whatever. But you understand it's a relic of the past, so you're not gonna wear it day to day, but you are gonna collect it. You are gonna understand its relevancy, and you're gonna add it to your collection. In terms of architecture, you're seeing buildings that are being designed and kind of built. I think the staying value of buildings that are being designed today. They're designed to achieve a purpose. Your standard office building in New York. I don't think as many people would complain about an office building as they would about shoes because they more directly interact with shoes. An architecture building is somewhere that you go day to day, whatever. But a shoe is something it's part of your own individual style, right?
Yeah.
All right.
We should like get back on our
Our origin
origins.
Yeah, we should.
He said, "Yeah, we should." All right. So what?
All right. Let's take a few steps back and ask when did you decide to pursue footwear?
All right. So tying back to where we went to school, I guess initially it was my fault that I didn't really explore industrial design and what it had to offer, but I knew it for designing, like I said, headphones or cell phones,
Watches.
watches and stuff like that. It wasn't until my second year of college where I went to IDSA, and I actually discovered through a friend that actually interned at New Balance that you could that your industrial design degree can help you get into the footwear design industry, and that very much fascinated me. I grew up playing basketball, and Michael Jordan, Tinker Hatfield was the designer behind that, and like we were just talking about what goes out of style. Well, all those shoes that Tinker Hatfield designed, it's still like praised. At least the first 10 that or 13 that he designed, right? So those are praised, and like if you were to get one, of course you're gonna keep it. You're not if you could find one at a cheap price, you're gonna get it. Most people.
But you're not gonna wear it.
I mean, no, that's for like I would probably wear it, but there's other people that kind of have that hold it at a higher value. With these type of things, it all comes down to how much value you give it. So that's in my sophomore year is when I decided to get into footwear, and then I got very focused into trying to build up a better resume that had more footwear experience. And
here's one thing about the program we got into is that they really don't go more into what industrial design has to offer.
Yeah.
They just keep it general, which it's a huge flaw in the program. And it's only like the industrial design basics, and we all have the same portfolio and the same projects and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And by junior year, you would wish to have a different, like you develop your own sense of design and what you want to pursue, and Montclair State really doesn't offer that.
I mean, yeah, they didn't really offer the information up to you, but you could see it both ways. As like you're the student, you should kind of look out for that information. So it kind of does go both ways, but you would like that the program kind of helps you out and steers you into finding out what there is for you and what you end up liking at the end.
Yeah, you have to take yourself and find initiative to go look for what you actually want to pursue inside industrial design. Do your own research and
through industrial design, I feel like most of the things that you get out and that are beneficial to you is any experience that you get outside of school, because that is really the real world. When you are in industrial design school, most of the time you are designing without restriction, which is cool, especially if you become like a conceptual designer. But in the reality of things, sometimes it's better. Like, so what I would recommend. Wait, I was gonna go into recommendations for like I guess postgraduates is make sure to get like a lot of experience, internships, and you build your connections, because anything that you do at if you get an internship or for like design and you do, let's say, a couple designs, you learn so much more than what you would have learned like at school, because at school you're mostly like storytelling, that's pretty big there.
They just teach you the basics in industrial design. So you would have to do it yourself to like go look for other ways and other interests of yours.
Like for me, I went also my senior year. I went to Pencil Academy. It's run by Dwayne Edwards. He was like he's a former Jordan designer. He was a creative director for Jordan. And I went to his program where it was New Balance and collaboration with Pencil. Did a 3-week class with 24 other designers. Got to like talk to New Balance designers. Got a lot of like lectures from Dwayne, and he was able to instill like a lot of like things into each designer, whether it's like your work ethic, you're always trying to like make sure that the person that you're talking to really understands your product, and making sure that you have a reason for everything that you're designing. And then at the end, we were able to present our concepts that we developed there to New Balance designers, and it was like a row of 40 people 40 people, probably even more, probably 60 people there. And then it was very nerve wracking, but we got through it, and it was such a good experience because it's crazy how you get accepted off one sketch, but you know, everybody there is very talented, and it just pushes you, because I'm guaranteeing you that when you go there, like, you start to open your eyes, because when you're depending how big your design program is, you know, everyone is super talented out there, and it just gives you, it opens your eyes to your competition when you're out there trying to apply for a job, and it kind of tells you what you need to improve on so that you're well ready after graduation. Now, for you, why did you, how did you know that you wanted to just keep doing industrial design? Like, why didn't you go into furniture? Why didn't you go into...
Because after every project, I got bored quick, and I wanted to be done with... I just needed something new after, like, 2 weeks of doing, like, the watch project, or 2 weeks of doing that box for the certain company. I just wanted to, like, start too late. Yo, oh, do you need water?
What? Like, fucking...
Stop eating them, man.
Rob's
You have asthma?
choking on popcorn. But yeah, I had I like the fast paced stuff, and yeah, I took it as a challenge when they gave me the products to design. So yeah, I just wanted to do that, basically.
Yeah,
Like,
So-
for me, I took the industrial design in general, like how it's supposed to be. Just, are you good?
Yeah, continue.
I think we're... Keep going, so, because I think we're almost running out of time.
I want to end it right now.
Yo, our guy's dying.
Nah, let's keep it going. Sorry for the minor inconvenience. We had to get Rob all fixed up. He was dying from popcorn stuck in his throat.
Yeah, pretty sad. Oh, but Rob, are you good now?
Yeah.
Yeah, Rob, you have to stop drinking.
You gotta stop
And
drinking, because this is like the second podcast, or 2.5, and you're drunk again. People are gonna start thinking stuff.
Like, freaking Foul Matters always drinking Hennessy. Like, you need to relax. Just imagine if we actually do make it, and people are just like, you're doing this consistently.
First off, I would like to say that
You're sorry. Say sorry to
Say sorry.
I do not have a drinking problem, and I'm sorry for whoever might think that I do, aka you guys. I'm sorry that you think that way, but I, in fact, do not have a drinking problem.
So let's wrap this up.
All right, let's wrap it up. Yeah, you can follow us on Instagram, Creators Blueprint.
Also, be sure to use our hashtag Creators Blueprint. We are located in the tri-state area, mainly New Jersey. So if you do use our hashtag, and like we could work something out, and maybe you can come on here and we could kind of discuss your blueprint.
So, yeah. So, as to piggyback on what Oscar said, we're always looking to kind of talk with, whoever in the creative world. We want to talk with our fellow creatives and discover their own blueprint and what goes on behind their creative process. And we want to start kind of sharing content from creators all over the world, but obviously, as Oscar said, we are firmly established in a certain area. So, hey, if you're nearby, let us know. And
Or if
we
you're
can,
somewhere else, you could just fly us out. That would be great.
Hey, that's true. Yeah, fly us out, whatever it is, the means of transportation. Let's make it happen. So.
Because we would love to share your work through our Instagram. Make you grow, make us grow. Mutual love.
Exactly.
And have you guys on here, and hopefully through Skype or
Yeah, I
Coming
look
here.
kind of into like Google Hangout, I think it's called. So maybe we can like find out what we can implement to this podcast if we can't get someone that's in a different country and stuff like that. Maybe we could do something. Well, we're fairly new, so we're still researching that
Sweet.
type of stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna try to get people up here to have conversations with. But yeah, that's all, guys. Thank you for hanging out if you made it this long.
Yeah, this long. We're gonna try to like make it more concise. I think this one should be around an hour, probably.
Yeah. Or
But,
so yeah. Let's call it a day.
Let's call it a day. Thank you for watching, and
Stay golden.